ladies and gentlemen of the press. And we have here some Americans on a fact-finding mission, and I'll introduce them. This is Mayor Mike Arnold, Republican elected mayor of the city of Blanco in Texas. And this is Jeff Gibbs, filmmaker, prominent filmmaker from the US. And beside me, I have the Secretary General of Jamaatul Nasr al-Islam, and he's going to introduce himself. Sir, let's introduce him.
Well, good afternoon all. My name is Professor Reno Omokri. I'm the Secretary General of JNI National Headquarters, Nigeria.
You might be wondering why is Khan not here? We did meet with Khan. The fact finders met with Khan before they met with JNI, and that it was important to me. And they had a fruitful conversation. So if any of you have read Today's This Day, on the front page of Today's This Day, you're going to see the deliberations. And so they've met with Khan, they've met with JNI, they've met with other persons. They've also been to IDP camps, and Mayor Mike and Jeff Gibbs have been around this country. Now, the thing is, when all of this information about a Christian genocide in Nigeria began, actually the first mention of that started on September 26th. I just reached out because the feeling back home is that it was an agenda against Nigeria, it was propaganda against Nigeria, it was to undermine Nigeria. But I just felt that the people who were saying these things, they meant well, and the reason why they were saying it is because they did not have the right information. And so before they came here, the fact finders actually briefed Senator Ted Cruz and Congressman Chip Roy, and when they go back, they will be taking the truth to the American policymakers. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand over the mic to Mayor Mike Arnold, who's going to address you on their findings so far. And after he speaks, Jeff will also speak, and then we'll take some questions. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. This is a very important time. I am curious. If you're a journalist or a reporter or media person, can you raise your hand just so I know who's? All right, very good. Thank you so much. I do want to give a clarification on a couple things. We've been a little bit rushed. I'm Mayor Mike Arnold, like Good Luck Jonathan is President Good Luck Jonathan. I completed my term a few months ago. I'm not the current seated mayor of the city of Blanco. I just didn't want any misunderstanding there. I am not a personal friend of Ted Cruz. I met him once about 10 years ago when at an event, and he was going down the line and I shook his hand. So I know people in his office, but I'm not a personal friend. Also, and while I may tend to vote for Republican candidates, I haven't been involved in a political party in about 30 years. I'm really not a political person. In fact, the mayor's job for my town in Texas, like a lot of towns, is not a partisan position. Nobody knows what party. It's a small town, and we fix roads and schedule parades and things like that. So just wanted to clarify those things. I'm not a politician. I have a little family construction company that for my livelihood. I am not beholden to any political party here or there. I'm an independent voice, and I just wanted to make sure that that's established. I want to also state briefly why I'm here. People ask, why does this American come over here and say these things? My first trip to Nigeria, this is my 16th trip to Nigeria. My first was in 2010, and I was accompanied a fellow who became my papa, my mentor, Professor John Ofebu. He lived in the United States, but he was a very proud Nigerian. He loved this country. He gave his life for this country. And in fact, this will shock most Nigerians. He was offered US citizenship on multiple occasions, and he always turned it down. I don't know any Nigerians that would do that. I know people that would kill for that, but to turn it down, because he didn't want any split loyalties. He lived and he passed away about 11 years ago as a proud Nigerian. We crisscrossed this country over several years together. I grew to love the country too, and the people, and have great hope for it. I consider this my second home. And before he passed, he prayerfully put his mantle on me, and I've endeavored since then to be a good steward of that, to steward his legacy. He was the founder of the International Coalition of Reconcilers, and Unity for Africa. He was a man of unity, a man of peace, who loved this country, and I love this country too. It's my second home. Speaking of home, I do want to say this. I would love to, I want to be here longer. I would love to meet everybody and talk and answer questions and all that. When we were preparing to depart to come here, I was notified my 4-year-old grandson Parker was rushed to the hospital. He had been having an ailment for quite a while, fever, trouble eating, and they did every kind of test imaginable for over a week, and they finally determined it was an advanced infection, and he was admitted to the hospital, and I'm thankful that we were able to get return tickets. I need to be back there with my family, so we're leaving actually today. Our flight leaves, and so my regrets. I'm just thankful that we were able to get this done. This is very important. One other thing, when I was invited on this, I sent a message that said, what is expected of me? And the answer was, message back, just tell the truth. And so that's what I'm here to do. It's not an easy thing. I told my host that probably lose some friends today. I know this is a very contentious and divisive issue, a lot of on both sides, and I appreciate the freedom of the assignment, but it's a heavy weight. Truth. What is truth? It's an accurate an assertion of reality. It's an accurate picture of reality. That's what truth is. What is real? What is really there? That's what truth is. And truth is the only thing ultimately that's sustainable. It's the only thing that can bring us together. If one side or anybody has built anything or advanced anything that's not firmly on the truth, it simply can't last. And so I've been very careful. I've been very precise ever since I got invited, pretty much full-time, late into the night. I've been researching, talking to experts, spent considerable time, retired US ambassador friend of mine, a long-time international human rights attorney, journalists, and others, because the truth is important. And I can't say, nobody can say that what they're going to speak or present is 100% truth, but it's the very best I could do, and it's very well validated and backed up and supported, documented. And I can also guarantee this, it's going to probably, everybody on every side is going to be a little bit uncomfortable with what I say. I would ask you to bear with me to the conclusion, because that's what's important. There have been, I believe, misunderstandings, misconceptions, miscommunications, and agendas on every side of this. And I've attempted to throw those out the window and just focus on the facts. So if anybody's a little uncomfortable, just bear with me. I think it's going to be equally uncomfortable because that's what the truth is, right? I mean, it should be, but it should be a good sense of discomfort as we all hopefully get more grounded in reality, in the truth. And I've typed up my remarks, and we got copies for the journalists. It's a formal statement on widespread violence and displacement in Nigeria. One of the contributors that's listed is U.S. Ambassador Louis Luck. Spent considerable time, and he's done a lot of work. He was an ambassador to Swaziland. He was also the #1 person in charge of rebuilding Iraq after the war, #1 guy in charge of rebuilding Haiti after the earthquake, and former board member of the World Food Program. So he has stature. He's put his name on here. There are other experts that value the privacy in this day of social media, but if any journalist wants to dig deeper, I'd be happy to make personal connections with any of my sources. So you can, if you don't trust me, maybe you can do your own digging. That's what I encourage everybody to do. Don't ever take anybody's word for anything. Don't ever, specifically, don't, if it's in the Nigerian newspapers, no offense to anybody, but there's oftentimes twists and turns there that don't line up with reality. Do your own homework, do your own research, search your own soul, and always seek the truth, because that's what's sustainable and that's what always wins. The truth always wins. I'm going to start, I'm just going to read it because it is important. Like I said, it's verbatim in the document that will be distributed. It's also posted up, will be posted online, so anybody can read this. But I'm going to read it because I don't want to make any mistakes. I don't want to deviate. Purpose and credentials. My name is Mike Arnold. I recently served as the elected mayor of the city of Blanco, Texas. I first visited Nigeria in 2010 as a board member of Unity for Africa. Since then, I've made 15 trips to Nigeria, including 6 extended investigative missions since 2019. I founded Africa Rise and International and Africa Rise USA 2019, along with my covenant brother, Pastor Jed DeGrace. I have frequently been quoted in top newspapers and TV news broadcasts here, and a couple viral videos too. I've never extracted anything from Nigeria. I've never taken anything home but souvenirs and small gifts. My closest and most trusted friends are native Nigerians. I come only to give, serve, and stand with the people and nation I dearly love as my second home. I was personally invited here today by Reno Omokri, and I got a call last Sunday morning, unexpected, from Reno Omokri. He was on the line with the National Security Advisor. Invited me to on this fact-finding trip and to come give a report. The sole stated written charge given to me for this trip is simply to meet certain key people and then declare the truth. I know what's at stake and take this very seriously. While my plane ticket and accommodations have been paid for, I have not asked for, been offered, nor received any compensation or promise of compensation for this, and no duress either. I've been given freedom. I'm not connected in any way or compensated by the US government. And I don't advocate any policy. I'm not reporting for them, I'm not speaking for them, and I'm not advocating any policy. That's not my role here. I'm here independently, and this statement is made without coercion or inducement of any kind. I also note that numerous top US officials have been briefed and are personally aware of my being here, the purpose of my trip, and my specific itinerary and expected return date. At their request, I'm providing updates as to my status. These include, but are not limited to, Senator from the state of Texas, my state, Ted Cruz, and Congressman Chip Roy, the White House, US State Department and acting ambassador, as well as a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist from the New York Times and their international editor. So a lot of people are waiting for this. Also note that as I present this statement, it is being simultaneously distributed not only to these people who are awaiting it, but also posted online for all to access. This statement is my formal account and analysis of facts, findings, and firsthand documentation of widespread claims of widespread violence, displacement, and atrocity crimes in Nigeria, primarily directed against Christian populations in the North and Middle Belt claims, and whether this rises to the level of genocide. Let me just pause there. This is heavy. This is serious. It's not something to play word games with. It's addressed to journalists, international observers, human rights bodies, and policymakers in the United States and abroad. We've traveled to cities, villages, and remote encampments from Bokos, Jos, and Gwoza to Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kuma, Makoko. Been all over in these last 6 years. I've interviewed governors, cabinet ministers, traditional rulers, 2 former presidents of high standing, and others. I have met orphans whose parents were hacked to death. I've helped them. I've built schools in internally displaced persons, IDP camps, and documented over 80 hours of filmed testimony and evidence at great personal risk, soon to be released on our documentary film, Me and Miss Hannatu. My findings carry the weight of direct personal experience. Nigeria in 2010, a nation at peace. In 2010, Nigeria was a beacon of rising prosperity and religious tolerance, often cited as the only country where radical Islam was being pushed back. Attacks were rare and sparked national outrage. Recognized IDPs were effectively zero, with only minimal displacement from localized communal conflicts. A stark contrast to the crisis that followed, marked by a 1,200% surge in IDPs the very next year, 2011, due to Boko Haram's escalation. The prior absence of displacement crisis is both verifiable and damning, because today there's not an accurate count, because I know we have schools and camps that the governments of the world, including Nigerian government, deny exist. So the quoted figures of 3 to 4 million internally displaced people is clearly low. And I've heard numbers as many as, in fact, the first time we talked, you said 9 million. What has changed since then? By 2014, Nigeria's stability was shattered. Foreign meddling, including US involvement, played a pivotal role in the 2015 election, enabling regime change that emboldened actors who ignored or enabled extremist violence. High-placed eyewitness testimony confirms this interference, with firms like Cambridge Analytica further skewing the political landscape. Radical jihadist elements fueled by foreign fighters from Libya and Sahel, post-2011 Arab Spring, many who say were invited, not invaded at that stage, flooded into Nigeria, amplifying Boko Haram and ISWAP. Today, over 4 million Nigerians are displaced, a very conservative estimate. That's based on, in part on my work in hidden camps, and officials who label these IDPs officially as criminals or vagrants. I'm going to pause there for 1 second to make this point, because it's very clear that Nigerians understand this. We did a groundbreaking for a school at an IDP camp 2 years ago. And several journalists came and wrote articles about it. And my remarks were, and the whole purpose of this, what we do is we build camps and schools and IDP camps. And that was the whole purpose of this. The news report said that we build schools in rural communities. Took out the whole idea of IDPs. If reality, if truth is the only way for unity, and truth is the only thing sustainable, the Nigerian media, at least the ones in my experience, I don't know where they get off changing my words to sterilize it. But if you work for a paper and you're guilty of that, you're not a journalist, you're a propagandist, and it's for shame. Your job is to speak the truth. Nigeria cannot heal, it cannot advance, it cannot succeed if the people of this country rely on your words to understand the truth and you're lying to them. Sorry, we got a little bit off track, but that's reality, okay? This is too important. Don't change my words. The vast majority of the IDPs are Christians, driven from their homes by deliberate political engineering and radical conquest, while mostly Muslim IDP camps do exist. One of our schools serves an entirely Muslim population, several hundred children. Our team's fieldwork, since 2019, our team has conducted relentless frontline research at great personal risk. We've interviewed survivors across multiple states. We've operated schools in 2 IDP camps for both Christians and Muslims, with a third under construction, with a present total of 550 students. We provide free, high-quality education, and we get to hear their stories and their parents' stories. Firsthand, eyewitnesses. We filmed camps the UN and Nigerian government deny exist. I could take you to them. We recorded numerous IDP testimonials. We have, in fact, a YouTube channel, My Voice Matters, with first-hand eyewitness testimonials. In late 2024, my team visited and filmed in Goshe, in Gwoza, LGA, Borno State. A once thriving Christian farming community, now a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Recent 2025 attacks confirm ongoing devastation, with surviving Christians combined to militarized zones where leaving risks abduction or execution. Another aside, I wasn't of course able to go there, but the team that did connected with a small group there that had a small church this in the protected zone. And it was not long afterwards we got sent roundabout a Boko Haram video with members of this church having their heads cut off with dull axes. Okay? Those were our friends. Our first-hand proof exposes a reality ignored by officials. Many people of Gwoza have been refugees in Cameroon for over a decade, abandoned by Nigeria, while those who return languish in the FCT, their homelands occupied by Boko Haram as the seat of its caliphate for years now. Consistent pattern of destruction. Across regions and years, we've documented a chilling pattern. Churches destroyed. In Gwoza, when they came in Goshe, all 6 churches were burned, no mosques were burned. Christian homes torched, jihadists resettled in captured lands. Authorities deny or excuse the attacks. While some Muslims resisting extremism are targeted, absolutely. The peaceful Muslims are targeted. The overwhelming evidence, thousands of churches raised, obviously selective violence, leads some to claim this is a faith-based genocide against Christians and those rejecting radical Islam. That's what some claim. What drives this violence? This has come from the highest level and the deepest research. And there's 3 primary drivers. It's not chaos, but it's calculated. One, radical, I think we all would refute and repudiate, but radical Islamic conquest. Armed groups, bolstered by foreign fighters from Libya, Sahel, post-Arab Spring, seek to impose extremist ideology with local enablers and political protection described by eyewitnesses as jihad by occupation. Blood mineral extraction. A former president is the one that pointed me in this direction. Nigeria, according to the government's estimates, which in my humble opinion are probably way low, Nigeria loses $9 billion annually to illicit mining of gold, tin, and lithium. Oftentimes these communities that are wiped out, you go back not long after and there's mounds of dirt from the strip mining. $9 billion a year. And again, the government's estimates, with a significant portion estimated to be 10% funding violence and corruption. That's $900 million a year, at least, that's funding the violence and corruption that does this. That needs to be investigated. Heavy machinery and foreign buyers appear days after displacements, exploiting lands of the displaced. Politically realignment, war in some cases, and again, let me say this, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not saying just because an official here does it that it's an indictment of the entire government. But war often masquerades as politics. Local government areas overrun, electoral districts redrawn by force, militants resettled, and each given 4 abducted wives to skew demographics, dismantling communities deemed inconvenient. This is fully documented. It shouldn't be debated. I'm just going to go where the facts led me. There's a euphemism of farmer-herder clashes. Yes, those have happened for generations. The term farmer-herder clashes is, in many instances today, is cynical doublespeak, weaponizing historical land disputes to mask jihadist conquest. For centuries, herders and farmers coexisted with very rarely lethal disputes. Now, villages are systematically razed, churches leveled, and tens of thousands are dead. This is a systematic terror and not grazing conflicts. A lie akin to calling Bosnia's ethnic cleansing a neighborhood spat. These targeted deadly attacks are the same whether labeled herders, bandits, or insurgents. The puppets may change, but the same forces pull the strings. A jihadi by any other name is just as deadly. Mincing words over labels appears to be intentional obfuscation. Now, at what level the people just say, that's what I was told, that's what was reported, and they, honest people can repeat things that are not true. Again, not indicting anybody, but in many of these instances, I would, if you're told it's a farmer-herder clash, I would compel you to dig deeper. While global attention often focuses on Boko Haram and ISWAP, the majority of killings and displacements across the Middle Belt are in fact carried out by radical Islamist Fulani ethnic militia. Numerous field reports, satellite imagery, survivor testimonies confirm that these militant groups, often operating under political protection and mislabeled as herders, are responsible for the most widespread, systematic, and sustained attacks on Christian farming communities. Their campaigns extend well beyond traditional grazing disputes, encompassing organized massacres, forced displacement, and the strategic occupation of conquered lands. Today, these militias represent the single most lethal terrorist threat in Nigeria's internal stability, surpassing Boko Haram and ISWAP combined, and reach frequency and civilian death toll. The crime of obfuscation. I've personally seen ongoing efforts by officials and their loyal media to bury the truth, sanitizing massacres as conflict, labeling displaced survivors, vagrants, and criminals, refusing to name perpetrators. This is not confusion, it is complicity. To play semantic games while people die is beyond obscene. There can be no solution while leaders play word games to hide the truth. And again, I'm not saying that everybody that repeats these things are doing it intentionally whatsoever, but at some level, there is a lot of manipulation taking place to hide the truth. So let's get to the conclusion, because this is where it's important, because there is a legal definition of genocide. That's the question here. And it's not a vague thing you don't want it to be or not to be. And I did not start with my conclusion, I started with the evidence. Per Article 2 of the UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in 1948, genocide includes acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. It includes killing members of the group, causing seriously bodily or mental harm, inflicting conditions to bring about physical destruction, preventing births within the group, forcibly transferring children to another group. This is the legal, international, understanding definition of genocide. The evidence is undeniable: targeted killings, mass displacement, destruction of homes and churches, denial of aid, and erasure of Christian identity. My conclusion, my formal findings: an objective expert and eyewitness, a longtime lover and traveler throughout Nigeria with access at the highest levels, based on more than 5 years of investigation, field interviews, first-hand documentation, and deep consultation with top scholars, statesmen, and legal experts, and I'm happy to introduce you to all of that. And this document has more than 15 citations. I declare this without any shadow of a doubt. The campaign of violence and displacement in northern and middle belt Nigeria does indeed constitute a calculated, current, and long-running genocide against Christian communities and other religious minorities without any reasonable doubt. To continue to deny this is to be complicit with these atrocities. I say this not in anger, but in truth and grief. My stated assignment from my host was to speak the truth, and I have done that to the best of my ability. I believe Nigeria has a bright future. I believe in Christian-Muslim harmony. I believe good people of every tribe and faith and party must stand against this evil, but first we must name it. Here I stand. I can do no other, so help me God.